Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Give yourselves a hand. Yes. Honey, let me tell you something. This morning, and you're going to hear this a lot, it's a black girl tongue click. Don't mind me. Okay, so this morning, it was 5 degrees. It's a wonder we're all alive right now. I'm glad we're all here. We all survived. We are warm. Thank you for the Interurban Art House opening its doors for storytelling. The griot is centuries, ages old. That is how we pass down our stories. We pass them down in the circles. We pass them down on the street corners, warming our hands above flames. We pass them down in the forests. We pass them down in our kitchens and at the kitchen tables. And now here we are doing storytelling. Tonight, what you're going to see is a combination of storytelling and poetry, all right? And you may have seen some of the people perform as poets. And my favorite form of poetry is the narrative, is the storytelling, is the weaving of the tale that brings me in and pulls me in and makes me want to hear the ending. And I don't care whether the ending is happy or sad, or even if it's just leaves me hanging. I'm ready for the next one. Then you're going to tell me how this ends in another story, right? Right? So that's what we're here for this evening. I have some stellar storytellers on deck for you, and we're going to do this round robin style. So we're going to go one round and then another round. We have Kayla the Duganator, all the way from Topeka. Hey! And I am super excited about her because I hardly ever get to hear her, and she is the bomb. Just a well, not yet. I'm going to introduce everybody, and then I'm going to call you up. Let me talk about you. Let me give you your flowers. Gosh. Okay. So she is absolutely the bomb. She is a heartfelt and technical writer, and that is hard to be. Very hard to be. For anybody who knows writing, to write technically well and then still yet inject all these feelings and experience in it, that is what she is. Her writing is really rich, poignant, and succinct, meaningful. So I'm really excited to have her here. We also have Austin Madrell. Oh my God! You don't even come outside. I am so glad that you came when I called. He is awesome. He has been known to write a manifesto or few, and he's highly opinionated, but what he says makes sense because he really means things from his heart. And so what he presents, while it may be like make you think, he really means it and has searched it with his heart. So be on the lookout for that. And last but not least, we have John Hypocrisy Lewis, who is my slam master, my partner in crime, my partner in rhyme. He's so dope, y'all. I'm so proud to serve alongside him. I'm just a me, but he's a whole him. You know what I'm saying? He's a whole him. He has now is, like I said, the slam master of the Regulators, Kansas City. We competed at regional competition. We took 5th place in regionals. We're getting ready to go back to Southern Fried this year and do our thing, representing the city and basically the whole region, you know what I'm saying? Because we will be the only ones from this immediate area at Southern Fried. And he has taken on the large task, number one, of leading me and a team of others, but you know, I'm a whole handful. So there's that. And then you have me. I am Sherry Purpose Hall. I am the Executive Director of Poetry for Personal Power, founder of East of Red Art House, and also a publisher. I founded Penfire Publishing. I'm a writer. I won't limit myself to just poetry. I'm a writer. I write everything from scientific journals to spoken word pieces and everything in between. So all of us are going to spin you some good stories this evening. Are y'all ready? And this is the ArtHeals exhibit. Me speaking from a Poetry for Personal Power hat, we're going to ask you what helps you to overcome adversity. What helps you to overcome? Me putting on an Easter Red hat, when I look at artists and economic development, let me tell you something. All of these artists are being paid to be here, and artists do not always get paid. I appreciate that. Interurban Art House consistently makes ways for people to be able to increase their social determinants, which also affects your mental health. Putting back on my Poetry for Personal Power hat, your mental health is important and can be affected by your social determinants and your current social standings, right? So when people think highly of you, ask you to come out, pay you to be here, and ask you to tell your stories and share the stories that are from your heart, it is extremely important to artists, and I'm glad that Interurban Art House is allowing this uplift. So, without further ado, now I'm gonna call the Duganator to the microphone. I love that name. Oh my God, did you name yourself?
Actually, it was a nickname given to me that I took on. I was like, I'm just gonna keep it.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell about that on this microphone. You have time, girl. Tell us about yourself and then give us a story. Everyone, Kayla Dugan, the Duganator.
Guys, I feel like I'm bad when I take my mask off in public now. So bad. Hello, my name is Kay Duganator. Duganator just comes from my maiden name, Dugan, and I'm the bomb, so gotta add the ater, right? Hey. Gotta add the ater. More to go around, more love. I am a poet, writer, storyteller, host from Topeka, Kansas. Really excited, almost too excited apparently, to get out here tonight and perform for you guys. And I just want to make sure now that I got too excited at the beginning, Sherry, so I don't do this wrong. Are we doing one piece and then coming back up later, or are we doing both? Okay, making sure. I want to start with some poetry tonight, even though it's kind of a storytelling poetry. This is an old piece of mine from back in the first starting to kind of get my feet wet writing, and I love this piece. The more that I look back on it, the more that it resonates with me now, and I almost feel like I'm going through some of the same things cyclically almost, like confusing kind of a things. This poem is called Imitation. Marian wandered aimlessly, and yet with an idea in mind, she moved almost purposefully through the city. Her mind was befogged with confusion and dampened desire. She felt enchanted, as if a demon had bespelled her, a sinner who had once given her soul to the devil and could no longer discern reality. The sidewalk stretched out before her, lonely and dark, and no lights winked from any window of any house on any block she found. On several occasions, groups of socialites she saw they had scanty, fancy fashions with quick paces hurried down the darkened road. Although the groups paused for the briefest of moments to exchange pleasantries, she could not distinguish meanings and individual words, although she knew the language. But in her haze, she could not speak or hear, so the words they spoke to Marian meant nothing to her, and in moments they hastened away with cruel intentions bestowed upon her confused ears. At last, she could find no way to soothe her spirit except to pound her small fist on every door that she seemed to match what her lost lover would deem worthy of his progeny. She hoped beyond blind faith. Instead, in her determination, she would find her future family's resting place this night. With this thought in mind, she found herself beneath the safety of a house of pleasure on the corner of a block she was on and the road she was to take, huddled in her coat of darkness. Then she saw him. He was on his way to important business that could not be denied. She took her stance before him and crossed her arms over her stomach protectively, armed only with her grace, smile, and an undeniable truth to stop him in his tracks. Thank you.
All right. Give it up one more time for Kay Duganator. Oh my goodness. So I thought that we would do ladies first, then gents, then ladies again, then gents, and then I don't know, If anyone has anything else crazy to say, we can make that happen. Everyone good with that? All right, so I have a story that I wrote. It was a poem, and if anybody is familiar with the story of Brock Turner, this story is called 1200. Sometimes we can do personification or right outside of ourselves. And this, like I said, I wrote it a long time ago. I hate doing trigger warnings, but we are here. A steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action, says Brock's father. Funny story. I was rushing to get home because the trash was set out, but it didn't have tags on it. And I had to buy some tags from the store. Side note, in Missouri, if you have more than 2 bags of trash, you have to buy trash tags and put them on the extra bags. So I went to buy some tags from the store, and well, of course, if I'm going to the big old store, I should get something to consume for dinner as well. And in the rush, I was mindlessly thinking thoughts like, I wonder how many seeds are in a watermelon, like 1,200? You eat them, either spit seeds or suck seed, rush, rush, rush. Get the salad, get the chicken, and on my way, I saw a jelly beans dispensary, so I get a bag. And I put it under the thing and pull, and oodles of them come spilling out like 1,200. Bouncing, hitting the ground, falling down holes. I was breathing heavy, looking around to see if anyone could see my embarrassment. Then I finally, quietly, hung my head with my new bag to carry and rushed away, trying to pretend it didn't happen, paid at the self-checkout, got outside, looked at the clock. It read 9:28. I went in at 9:08, exactly 20 minutes. 20 minutes isn't really that long. I mean, it's only long if you are waiting to get off work, or waiting for a ride, or getting raped or almost raped. Pretty much anything rapey. Something like that. 20 minutes is 1,200 seconds. It is as short as the time you have for a lunch break, and as long as watching a person on their deathbed struggling to breathe. Maybe 1,200 equals the amount of full panting breaths during a body invasion, or the amount of tears to fill a mason jar to the brim. I could drink them like on the movie Crybaby. They called her a crybaby, like the best bad movie ever. Wrote 1,200-word essays and think pieces about it, sorting out the gory details, breaking them down into 1,200 tiny segments and points, then categorizing them into 20 divisions of white male collegiate privilege. Each division containing 60 different things he should just be allowed to do at any second of the day, without harsh consequence. Shrinking her malady to a simple 20, a seemingly insignificant number, something you never really think of until your child is 20 minutes late. Or until you're 20 minutes into an epileptic episode, then you count the seconds, 1, 2, 3. Much like the insignificance of counting pubic hairs until they're extracted one by one. It isn't just anything then, like the amount no one dares to imagine in the number, but it only takes one to make it. It's not really the small things that count until you count them, until you're forced to 1, 2, 3, adding up each moment of agony. Maybe that's why he did it. I wondered if he was trying to make his trip worth it. I wonder, because of course he went to the big old party, he should get someone to consume. I must have looked like his favorite kind, unable to accept, unable to consent, but yet unable to deny, unable to remember him parting thighs, can't decide whether to spit or swallow while half dead, limp, yet with a pulse. I often wish I had been dead. Maybe I could have fulfilled his necrophiliac urges without awaking to dismay. Then all they would have to do is get a bag. But here I am, all breathing and whatnot. with all my fears and dignity spilling out like 1,200 jelly beans, and me hitting the ground, falling down the rabbit hole of possibilities of what could happen, what did happen, breathing heavy, looking around to see if anyone could see my embarrassment, hanging my head with my new baggage, being tagged as trash, rushing away trying to pretend it didn't happen, and definitely paying for it. Thank you. And just a bit about that piece. When his father said, it's a high price to pay for 20 minutes, something happened and I had to write because it struck a chord and it matched so many other stories, including my own. So take your time or whatever. Next, coming up, we have Austin Madrell. Oh my God. I'm not sure you guys know what a treat this is. Kay never gets to come into the inner city. Austin doesn't come outside. I'm just excited. So Austin, come on. We love you.
I am a hermit, the mad wizard of the crossroads. To that point of Brock Turner, that also was like very distinctive. And I remember when that happened, and I had just moved back to Kansas City and also wrote about it. And I remember the verse, remember Brock Turner on the swim team, says going to prison for life would ruin his dreams, says that he's innocent and really quite sweet, his victim is incensed when he's released. And I think that he is in the same caliber of person as that kid who decided it was a good idea to walk around with an M16 on his shoulder and ended up killing someone, and the same guy that hurt Daisy Coleman, and their names don't deserve to be mentioned because their reputations don't need to be proliferated. But that's what it is. I just wanted to riff on that, but on that note, my name's Austin. I have a studio in the Crossroads, and basically just work with other artists because the world needs more art in it, and art is wonderful. Are we doing all poems or then stories? It doesn't matter?
Either or.
Great, okay, awesome. So I have a story then. So I do want to preface this by saying it does deal with upsetting things, so just be cognizant of that, but I think at the end it is in service of a larger and worthy topic, and yeah. So when I was 14, I went on a camping trip, but because I was 14, we were sent with my friend's cousin, and he was an EMT, and he told us these horrible, gruesome stories of the things that he'd experienced and the things that had happened to him when he was an EMT. And I remember thinking that that really put things in perspective. Yes, the satisfaction that he must feel in rendering genuine aid, but also the cost that that must have on him, and how attractive something like that was to me if it weren't for the PTSD that I'm sure that it would incur. So years after that, it's the summer between my freshman and my sophomore year of college, and through a sequence of events that is far too complicated and interesting and is in and of itself its own story, was at my wit's end, and a pastor took me in under his wing. Turns out that this pastor was also the funeral director and the mortician. And I spent those 2 weeks collecting dead bodies from around the morgues in the area and learning how to cremate them and learning how to preserve them. And this mortician told me something very similar, that he made it a point to take a vacation for himself every year because he wanted to maintain the sacredness of what he was doing, and for him not to become desensitized to him giving these last rites to these people's loved ones. And that was an incredible experience for any 18-year-old to have. 7 years later, George Floyd was killed. And I was working as an industrial fabricator at the time. And I remember coming home and my roommate saying, "Do you know what's going on in the plaza?" And I said, "No, what's going on in the plaza?" And she told me. And I sat down and I realized I had to be very intentional, both of my parents were educators, and I was raised very well versed, and I knew that this was not the first time, nor was it the last time, that police would answer complaints about brutality with more brutality. But I didn't want to participate or contribute to chaos. I wanted to go in with a sense of deliberateness. And what I settled on was that I wanted to help people. And so I put some cereal bars and water bottles in a backpack. There's 1,000 people out there in 100-degree heat, and there's no way that there's a supply chain to make sure all those people are healthy for the 6 hours that this is going to take. And I watched 16-year-olds get dragged across the pavement on their knees. I watched a man's eye get shot out. It was horrific. I was working as an industrial fabricator at the time, and we made gaskets for Lear and Boeing out of industrial Kevlar, which has many of the same properties as ballistic Kevlar. And I went home that night, and I filled a plate carrier, which is a nylon apparatus that holds a 10 by 12 piece of armor in the front and the back of your torso, and I filled it with these scraps of industrial Kevlar. And I didn't have enough for both, so I filled the back with plywood. And it was a good thing that I did, because the night after that is when the rubber bullets started flying. So it was such that the first night was snacks and water bottles, and the second night was body armor. And that ended up defining my life for the next year. And I fell in with the street medics. People were coming from New York, California, and proliferating medical knowledge, medical equipment. Helicopter pilots were coming from local hospitals and giving people instructions on how to use these sophisticated and expensive pieces of medical equipment, because the need might arise. And we were seeing things on the news of cars running into people, and we didn't know when this violence was going to make its way to Kansas City. And these different organizations, the Red Hand Society, which is an indigenous advocacy group, the White Rose Society, which traces its heritage back to Sophie Scholl, who's 21 and spoke out against Hitler's Third Reich in the early days and was killed for it, her and her brother, would ask us to come and accompany their marches. So that all tapered off around Election Day, and I took a job at the Linwood YMCA, where some of the most underprivileged kids in Kansas City go. And Tech Nine's bodyguard would come in every night, because Tech Nine has that kind of love for his city, and he would give these big trays of food. There was always extra. And one of the groups that we worked with was called Casey Tenants Union. I would take this food to their events. And I, at one of these events, mentioned I was a medic. This woman tugs on my sleeve, and she said, "There's a man dying upstairs." I didn't believe her at first. And then it became quickly evident she was not kidding. So we run upstairs. There's this long hallway with a window at the end of it. And at the end, silhouetted, is this old woman, like something out of The Shining, this single finger crooked at the only open door in this hallway. And I go in through the door, and there's a big burlap coffee bag of a French brand of coffee on the wall. On the bed, there's a man, and he's dead. And I roll him on his back, and I start doing compressions. And I learn that he's missed his insulin. And I feel his sternum dislocate, just the way that you're supposed to. And if he had woken up, which he never did, he would have felt absolutely awful, because your ribs are designed to protect your heart, and you are trying to artificially stimulate the heart. And the entire time, his stepson is there holding onto his arm, and I'm asking his stepson for the pulse, and he's saying, "Don't leave us, Tim. Tim, don't leave us. We need you, Tim. Don't leave us." And I sustained him for 6 minutes, and then EMS got there with much better training and much better tools than I had, and they took over, and they pronounced him dead, and I left. And I went to Chez Charlie's, and I told my friends what had happened, and we raised a toast to Tim, and we cheersed his life and what could have been, and gave thanks for what had been, and I moved on. So fast forward to February 22nd of 2021, and I lived a little ways out in the country at the time, and I hadn't been active in any sort of medical capacity for a long time, but something told me that day to put on my medic bag. And so I did, and I drove into town, and there had been a motorcycle wreck. And I put my car in park, and I pause my podcast, and I get out of the car, and I walk up, and there's this person kneeling on either side of this woman's head to stabilize her head so as to not complicate any possible cervical vertebrae injuries. And her knee had been broken, her leg had been broken off, a compound fracture mid-shin. And so I kneel down, and my hands are shaking, and I tourniquet her leg. And as I'm doing this, this guy is waving her ID in front of my face and saying, "Her shoe's down there. You got to get her shoe." And I said, "Man, I'm trying to stop the blood flow." But there was another part of me that was very grateful that he said that, because this is the immediate priority, but there will come a moment when she wakes up, and after all of the hugs and the thank God you're alive, there will come a moment when she says, "Where are my boots?" And because of that man, her boots will be returned to her and not just left on the side of the road with the shattered remains of her motorcycle's fender. And EMS again arrived, and they took over, and I asked them if they needed anything, and they said no, and I got back in my car, I resumed my podcast, and I drove away. And I thought she was fine. Center Point wasn't far away. Her injuries weren't that bad. And the next day, I was driving that route, and I saw flowers. And we all know what flowers mean. And I pulled a Yui, and I got out, and she had been born February 21st of 1997. So she had died the day after her 23rd birthday. And I got back in my car, and I slammed the steering wheel, just fuck! Absolutely livid. And I called my dad, and we looked it up, and she had been 3 months pregnant. And I just didn't know what to do. Just barely dipping my toe into this world that firefighters and doctors live in and have to come to terms with. And I had this moment where I thought, am I doing good? And the conclusion that I came to was, it's not about what you do and whether it succeeds, it is the convictions that motivate your choices. And left me with the assertion that in the future, when these situations do arise, that I will continue to try to help. It is the trying and the attempt that matters, not necessarily your success. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Austin. All right. Yeah, that story was whew. It is a collection of stories that kind of came together to make a really good point, and is a point that people who are not just first responders, but people who work in advocacy and activism often ask themselves, like, am I doing good? I was out at the same rallies and protests and places, and I didn't have water, I didn't have armor, I had this fleshy body that can't run. And I'm coming out here because my mouth is wicked and that's all I got. So I'm going to fight the power with what I got in my presence and my prayers and hugging people. And we're in the midst of a pandemic, and I continued, people can call it foolish if you want to, but I continue to take people into my chest and love on them outside in the 100-degree weather. I can say that I am grateful and fortunate that I did not contract COVID. But at the same time, I feel like God told me that was what people needed. It was a powder keg, and people were about to explode. One of the people I talked to had just lost his mother, was actually a couple of years older than me, but needed that hug. And you know what that hug is. It is a hug that gives to you but doesn't require anything. Sometimes people just need to be poured into, so when you're trying, you're literally pouring into a person, dead or alive. That last pour may have been the only pour they experienced in a long time that wasn't requiring anything. So thank you for your service. Thank you all first responders for your service. And now we're going to go to the next story, hypocrisy. Woo!
Hello. How's everybody doing? Awesome. Feel like I'm doing a seminar with this thing right here. All right. Has anybody seen The Boys? Yeah. It's a show on Amazon? Yeah. Okay. Has anybody seen Raising Isaiah? Yeah. It's a show on Netflix? Yeah. Both tailored towards superheroes and villains. And there's a thin line, in my opinion, between superhero and villain. Okay. Me and my villains be doing villain things, vibing, living our best lives. In the world of heroes, we villains get a bad rap. Just normal people with a problem with authority. You see the heroes with their abilities, the power they unresponsibly hold, supposed to protect and serve wherever they are called. Making grand entrances, real flashy, screaming, siren song, melody, see villain menace, a scourge, judging a book by its cover, become executioner. Is daylight and dark night the difference? See, it never gets old. The heroes will forever be white, seen pure, while black be villainous. Only moving with evil intent, locking up humans in droves. Heroes say they fighting for those that can't fight for themselves. They're defenders of the defenseless when raised, open palms, hands clasped and clenched, down with heroes and the damn sidekicks, willing to hide the truth in plain sight, burying it with lies, paint upstanding citizen a villain. Unable to clear name, I mean, who cares what you call the dead villain? Villains die every day. There is more black death reported than there are black births. It was once deep in our roots, tribes would celebrate black birth. Like they would dance, be cheerful, they would feast. They know this baby will be king, queen, grow up strong and beautiful. They know they will grow up strong and beautiful and breathing. A villain. We got too comfortable believing in heroes. We birthed lambs, blindly placing them as sacrifice, hoping to teach them not to be starstruck when they see a hero. We don't have those in our neighborhood. We have patrolling gangs with chest plate Kevlar wrap with chest plate Kevlar wrap boys in blue with utility belts, holding all the classics like handcuffs, mace, a taser. It's unused. It's never used, even when it's called for. A grappling gun. Well, a gun, it does grapple souls, making cold shell villain innocent bystander whose skin depicted them something that they are not. I mean, it shouldn't have gotten that far. Who knew seeing your heroes in person would be so deadly?
I'm not going to talk about villains and how they're the best part of any story. I'm not going to do it. I just said it. I did it. Okay. Thank you, John, for that. That's one of them. We going to do that. We taking that on the road. Okay. You got to big ups the homie. Okay. So bringing back to the microphone, the sacred space, less stage. As you can notice, I have, I do things barefoot. Don't mind me. Anywho, Kay Duganator coming back. Yes.
I just want to say how beautiful this place is. I'd not been here before tonight, but I will definitely be coming back. Looking around at all the mixed medias and all those things, so beautiful. And those are their own stories, so everybody should check them out if they haven't, because they're really awesome. Do you guys ever just stop to appreciate how amazing the human body is some days? Just think about how your body heals itself, and it sheds its skin, and every 7 years you're like a new person because your body has rid itself of these toxins. And that's what I started to do the last couple of years with myself, because when the pain stops and you're in a healthy place and you're not just rewriting 26 letters and lots of different poems to get through that pain, and you're there and you kind of have to look around and go, what now? What do I do with myself now? I'm not in, agony every single day. I'm not just getting through to survive. I'm actively doing things. I'm being productive. Like, why am I not as happy as I should be? And I realized that it's not just those moments of trauma, because it's not just a moment of trauma or 2 moments. It's a lot of things that once those things have happened to you, you allow others to treat you that way. You treat yourself that way. and you think, I deserve this somehow. And you just let it happen, and you let it happen, and you get through, and you get through. And then when you're good, for me at least, I had to stop and go, no, you don't get to treat me that way anymore. I'm not gonna let you disrespect me and my time in the way that, we interact. And that was more for me having to figure out to stand up for myself, which is something I struggle with. I have no problem jumping on a microphone and spilling my guts to strangers, but talking to people that I love about things that are hurting me, not gonna happen. Like, ask my husband, he has to guess a lot. And that's not always fun because I don't always know what's wrong either. It's just, I don't wanna feel that way anymore. But sitting in that anger isn't healthy for anybody either because it's not progressing. You're not getting better if you're just sitting in anger and not figuring out what you need to do. So I hired a life coach, or at least that's what I told my mom. She was actually probably, if you're gonna define her more, a sex coach. Yeah, that's right, because I found out as an adult woman, I didn't have a very good relationship with my body because I didn't respect my body enough when I was younger. I allowed people to come into my sacred space and disrupt things, and I continued to allow that energy because I thought that was the correct energy. But knowing better, you have to stop that and figure out how to have new energy and put that out into the world and work through those things. And for me, I have to start with myself, as we all do. To have good relationships with others, you have to have a good relationship with yourself first. To know what your limits are, what's okay, when you can pour into someone else's cup, when you need someone to pour into your cup. And, sometimes you just, as my sex coach would say, have to have sex with yourself to figure those things out. I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but it works, or at least it did for me, because finding out what actually pleases you is very different than what you think or allow or have let others let you think about yourself and what makes you happy and what pleases you as a person. And that's a relationship that once I figured that out, I could then step forward and say, if I'm not going to treat myself that way and allow others to take, and myself to take my pleasure from me, nobody else is going to take that from me either. And that's where I'm at now is my relationships with other people are being affected by that because I don't always let them do the same things. And we're not as close as we used to be. And I have to sometimes stop and say, that's okay. It's okay for you not to stay friends with people or have them in your life if it's not benefiting you and you're not benefiting them in any way. It's okay to let those people go. It's hard, and you have to continuously stand up for yourself and what's good for you and what's right, and that's a daily thing. That's a daily struggle. But I'm worth it, and so I want you guys to know you're worth that struggle too. Thank you.
Yes, we are all about the empowerment over here, okay? Yes, be empowered. Be the one to dictate what is in your space and what is not in your space, no matter what the space is, all right? Y'all got that? Are y'all catching these gems? Okay, all right. So I have a story. Actually, it's a poem that I just wrote. Just finished it earlier this week. Haven't titled it. But there's a story with this. So, you know how you look at stories? First off, we're not going to blame everything on social media. I feel like social media is a cop-out. When you look at any kind of media, right? When you look at rom-coms and you look at, books, stories, and you see, the person may not be the knight in shining armor. They may be quirky, but for this person that they're swooping in for, it's like, yes, that is it. And then you see it like they are riding on the beach and hair in the wind, and this is relationship goals. This is it right here, right? Lady and the Tramp, you know, even we made relationship goals out of dogs, you understand me, right? Because they were out here like with the spaghetti. How many people have tried that and damn near broke their noses? Anywho, we will make relationship goals out of literally any, oh my God, he gave her the last piece of food. Do you think he was probably full and just had gas? I don't know. But these are relationship goals. To us, we make them absolutely anything. He put his coat in the mud so she could walk over it. First off, bruh, I'm gonna need you to help me navigate. We gonna navigate, we gonna be clean together because we came out fly and we're gonna be fly together. I just believe in a different set of relationship goals, all right? I don't know. I believe in things. I'm a realist. I feel like things need to make sense. Yeah, so while I can be as lofty as anybody else and caught up in many and multiple moments and have to talk myself down out of them, there is a point where my Capricorn brain comes back. It's like, child, look, I need you to be in reality right now. So this poem is about some stuff like that. Y'all ready? It sounded like I already started the poem, didn't it? That's dope. That is dope. Okay. Well, let me tell y'all, me and the man I married are relationship goals. We are. We did that. Example. After yet another senseless argument, screaming and fighting, me begging him to stop, he told me that he goes so hard on me because when he looks at me, he sees himself. Hella deep, right? And he's fucked up. So I must be too. The next arguments were too short. He ad-libbed bitch on repeat. Disrespect went from slip up to backbeats, and I wondered if he was talking to me or his reflection. Or if I had become his reflection, or the female to his dog. Wondered if my bark back was pedigree, growl more pit or pincher, bite, leaving irreparable wounds, each of us striving to prove how big a dog we are in this fight, while the size of the fight in the dogs was shrinking. Knowing boning ain't gonna make it no better. We both tired of being dogged out, taking turns in the doghouse, gave homie the pound and said, I'm out. I am relationship goals, y'all. Relationship goals are leaving while intact enough to get myself back. And yeah, it took time to leave. But when I released him, I released me, and we are healing. And healing is relationship goals. Doing all you can, investing your whole self, but still having the courage to let go is relationship goals. Him learning to respect boundaries and reflect while continuing to grow is relationship goals. Relationship goals ain't Instagram hand-holding pics. It's not the front you put on for the world while growing old. And while people in previous generations were more apt to grow old together, for some of them it wasn't without another family across town. Emotional and physical abuse. Kids laying their heads under the same roof as their molesters. Grandpa going upside grandma's head and big mama stabbing that clown. Relationship goals is learning how not to pretend. It is learning to defend your love while being protected by it. It is still being able to love yourself inside of love. Relationship goals is getting knocked down and getting back up again, because I will love again. I'm learning to love me again, because relationship goals are beautiful when shared, but they first start from within. So, be a realist, be relationship goals. I ain't telling nobody to get out here and be divorcing people. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying be relationship goals. Be healing. Be growing. Be doing those things. And if you are being toxic, learn how to detoxify yourselves But for anybody who has had to leave a situation and you're feeling bad about yourself and beating yourself up about it, build yourself up. You are goals. You left while you were still living. So, next to the microphone, come on back, Austin. Yes!
So that last one was pretty dark. This is perhaps less so. You know when you're having a very serious conversation and you're very apprehensive as to what the person's going to say next, and you see those three little dots, and this is where that all started from. I do apologize in advance. I wrote this very recently, and when Sherry told me I'd be doing this, I work in food service, and I locked myself in the bathroom periodically over the past week, and have been, and my coworkers and clients probably think that an insane person lives there, and they're not wrong. Just saying this over and over and over again, but that is more a matter of personal standards than anything else. Also, in order to capture the mood of this, I highly recommend that everybody here look up the song Dear McCracken by Bug Hunter, because if it doesn't make you cry, you're not a human being. Ominous ellipses, honest lips, simple sentiments, they sling strange sounds, made far more important than they originally meant. Connections spent sifting through the savory and the spent, longing diligently for a seminal shift. Continental drift, Pangea, are you going to be with it? We ain't so simplistic, we don't wait around for shit to go cystic. Spurious sense don't dent a sentimental sentence, and consistent religious divisions are missives that have drifted across time to deliberately twist in a way that I christen as simply saturnine. Don't come close, I'm socially distant. I've been doing this since long before it was a CDC mission. The midnight phone blows like fission, and by my own admission, I've been known to grow the distance between me and the ones that I'm missing without a lick of intervention. These are tongue twisters. Therefore, it's vital that we access a place to learn to accept the absence of our relations. Acknowledge it when we cause mistakes and accept the damage of altercations. The tongue can cause wounds deeper than any lacerations, so be judicious when you choose to use it in the pursuit of interrogation. They say an ounce of preparedness is worth a pound of courage. I want to know the ratio from religious conditioning to provision. Are you comforting yourself that there's an afterlife? Or are you reaching out to grow in time, to show those that walk stone on winter roads that you've got a belief that compels you to hand out coats when the cold wind blows? Is it spiritual Novocaine, like you don't want to make a hard decision? Or have you been compelled to act and explode like some sort of metafictional vision? Baptized in a water fountain like it was a moat. Realize no one's counting so you can go for broke. Won't stoke the fires of a Christian goat. Christen the starboard wires and lay down your heavy load. Keep kissing and you will miss what we've got to show. We answer the call of a higher power and demand to grow. We twist all consonants to change continents. This is the important part. We don't allow constables to tell us our belly's full when we are still clearly starving for just us. No, that's a fact. That's not just us. Don't attack. Legislation won't rush us. We're not the sort to allow senators to implore us to war. We know they've got missiles stored and an appetite for gore. We have a list of demands based off of what we've seen, like, please return native land, and industry must go green. We know the divisions among us are lies designed to disorganize, bandages blind with a tendency to despise and deride, because you turned out in tens of thousands and stood as you chose to align, took a step outside your daily grind, made it clear the methods that you so dearly malign are no longer a form that you will permit the streets to be defined by. Thank you again.
Alliterations and tongue twisters, yes. And they probably did think you were crazy in the bathroom. It's okay. At a certain point in your artist's life, everyone thinks you're crazy, and they're probably right. I know they're right about me. And it's okay. I live every day breathing, choosing to prove them right. I am. So, bringing up last time to the mic, hypocrisy. Woo-woo!
For those that do not know me, I don't like being serious. For those that do know me know, I don't like to be serious. It's like a defense mechanism. I kind of protect myself. You know what I mean? I try to give myself good energy. That way I don't gotta trust other people to give it to me. And so for a few years, Sherry's been asking me, hey man, you gotta be more vulnerable. So like I'm 33 now, so this is like a 4-year, 5-year journey of being vulnerable. It sucks. Because you can't, once you open that door, you can't like close it to go back to where it was, because now you know. This is what it is. Now you know. So now I know, and I don't like it. I was better off being blind and not serious. And so I'll let you guys decide. We can either talk about phobias or we can talk about duct tape. Phobias. All right, cool. You say you're for duct tape? All right, cool. Phobias. I heard that a lot. It's a good poem, though, just so you know. Duct tape is a really good poem. It's very, very personal. Very, very personal. Duct tape. This is my journey of vulnerability in trying to find a counterpart. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Acrophobia. It's a fear of heights. Aerophobia is a fear of flying. Astrophobia is a fear of thunder and lightning. And we all know arachnophobia. It's a fear of spiders. Anuptophobia. Fear of staying single. I seem to find parts of myself in these. It's interesting how some of these fit snug like too small sweater that just so happens to be your favorite. And when we all have small fears, we see huge, like gamophobia is a fear of marriage. Genophobia is a fear of women. Filiophobia is a fear of love. I find it hard to say I love you to things that are forever fleeting. I never truly loved a woman other than family. I love beautiful sunlit days and crisp moonlit nights. I've noticed. None of my siblings have significant others. I mean, how hard it is to trust. It makes me sad, because I tried to find it. Once I searched. Like I howled at the moon on a clear sky night, and I learned you don't search. It finds you, like rock bottom. And they saved your life. Love. See, I wouldn't say my fear of women is a phobia, but it's still a fear nonetheless, and I'd be fooled. I'm hoping to get bit by a love bug or hit with Cupid's arrow because I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. Is beating under callous flesh Morse code? I want to love you, phobias and all, but ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Thank you.
You really slide from behind the podium. I cannot. Okay. Thank you so much, Hypocrisy, for being vulnerable with us. It's beautiful. Isn't it beautiful? I'm just saying. All right, so that will conclude our evening of storytelling, of poetry, of prose. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Does anybody have any feedback or questions for anybody who spoke today? I knew y'all were gonna ask for it. I didn't even do it. I didn't even spawn the crowd on. I just thought I'd ask them if there's anything that they wanted. It's not my fault. Well, I mean, if y'all have like one more or something, you know, you can do a thing or something. When Wolfie says yes. Kay, do you have stuff and things?
Do you guys want a story or a poem, I guess?
It's about you. So what we'll do, we'll go backwards. Since you guys want duct tape, and Hypocrisy has lots of duct tape that will hold us all together right now in this moment. So bringing back to the stage, Hypocrisy.
All right. Duct tape. Hi. I'm Hypocrisy. Hi, I'm John. So you probably don't want to hear this. It'd be a poem about me. Call it a glimpse of things I noticed by hot well from you. Like I bet you didn't know my shell was cracked. Like I got a kink in my armor. That's why I don't fight in this battle of life. It's not safe, it's draining, killing my happy, making me monster. Ink is my only escape. Can I start over? I skipped a very important part. Oh, gosh. I skipped an important part. Cool. All right. Hi, I'm Hypocrisy. I'm John. Hi, I'm John. And you probably don't want to hear this. It'd be a poem about me. Call it a glimpse of things I noticed by how well from you. Like, I bet you didn't know I hid behind laughter for a year. It was the only duct tape I could find to keep me from breaking. See, my shell was cracked. There was a kink in my armor. That's why I don't fight in this battle of life. It's not safe. It's draining, killing my happy, making me monster. Ink is my only escape. I talk to paper. I talk to paper more than I do people. And I call it therapy. I call myself an artist when really I'm lonely. In a room full of hearts beating like mine and scared to die and not love, but I guess that means I'm alive to feel fear, pain, and regret, still using laughter as a duct tape bandage. I broke a cardinal sin. Wasted time. Something I could never get back, wasted it on dead-end journeys that lead to roadblocks, a road full of landmines, a barricade, infatuated, making dessert out of salty things. I always got the bitter, never the sweet. My last smile. My last real smile was in my youth when cares were free, street light was curfew, and laughing was just that. Oh, it hurts to laugh. Forcing mass hurts. The muscles don't move the same. I ain't used them in a while. What do I have to smile for? I'm an introvert with extrovert tendencies. A two-sided coin. 50-50 split, you don't know what you're going to get. Heads, I'm a gas to be around. People love my energy, how well I feed souls, even when I'm in shambles. I think I was a medic in my past life. As well as I can bandage a wound. Make it presentable that I'm okay. I once hid my problems behind laughter for a year. It was the only duct tape I could find to keep me from breaking. I piled up the chipped pieces of my soul and I puzzled together a new body. I rarely flip tails. Back of the line vibe in my own world, content with just being and know that being is enough. Know that it's okay to recharge. No matter how long it takes, you can't rush to 100%. Like a watch pot don't boil, it'll take time for the new body to mend. I once hid my problems behind laughter for a year. and I called it healing.
Trying to tell y'all about duct tape. Well, I didn't tell y'all about it. I still got it. Okay, so bringing up next, Austin. Woo-hoo.
I'm only coming back up to retrieve my mask. Thank you, propaganda. I almost called you propaganda. Great musician. Your stuff reminds me of him a little bit. So I really love wordplay, and this is just in service of wordplay. And I love confessional musicians. I love NF, but I also love just when you have a string of words and consonants, and whatever meaning you find in it is almost in second service to just the rhythm of it all. And this is that, and anything you get out of it is yours. Because that's the great thing about art, is it doesn't belong to the artist. The minute that you put it out in the air, anyone can have any interpretation of it whatsoever, and you cannot tell them that they're wrong. Various sordid saurians and lizard sorts cavort around a roasting pork and implore the sorts of portents that you would expect to observe as off the shore pours gallons of gore onto the banks from the ruptured tanks of an oil shortage in the western port. On the other hand, Aberdeen queens preen their wings and fling things when the dream doesn't unfold the way that it seems it should. Clean Fiend suds up the sinks with a combination of powders and creams to prevent a ground up of crud ground down into the countertop wood. Lonely bronies but glowing trophies in the land of Mo show me those moaning slow nieces on military leave that buff the rust with elbow grease until it proceeds to gleam with a delicate sheen, thereby freeing the means to scream, I wish you would. Finally, it's worth an honorable mention or two, the undeniable need to review the dimensions of these barrels and chutes they use to concoct this delicate brew, lest a crew of rubes arise by surprise to reuse a truce never intended for a rube to use. It's true. Barring a brawl in the city seat, slurs scrawled tall on the wall as they beat a hasty retreat. It's not a preferable outcome, certainly, but it is more appealing than those surly Shirleys unfurling a body bag full of 150 pounds of pasty red meat. Foul, I know, like the waters of Crete. Polluted, convoluted, twisted, replete. Profuse fusions of algae and lichen, all of it green. Thank you kindly. Downwards to the direction that this is winding, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was finding the time to inhale between lines to be decreasing slightly to nightly pace. Decreasing slightly to nightly pace. Slightly frightening the heightening concentration of nicotine in my lungs today. Don't smoke cigarettes. Thank you. And I also want to thank Sherry for putting this together, because this has definitely pushed me as an artist to push myself.
Austin did that. I don't care what you say. He did that. Okay. What words am I about to say? I'm not. I know. I will not say that many F-bombs today. Ooh. I was thinking of unavailable or Pavlov.
Pavlov. That's the one.
Well, we haven't practiced Pavlov, so we'll see if we make it through Pavlov. As I was thinking of it, but I hadn't thought it through. Dagnabbit. Okay. I'm not dealing with this. I'm the host, dagnabbit. Me! Okay. Let's see if we can make it through it. Let me get this straight. You called him a dog. Not to say that he's not grimy and wrong, but you chose to be on all fours in your boudoir. Saw a ring on his finger and did not see committed, but saw willing to commit. Saw this brother in a moment of weakness and ran to go get it. You called him a dog after you chased his bone. Had no complaints, flirtatious anticipation building, letting him know that you were willing. No complaints with legs in the air. There were no complaints when he was there. No complaints washing his dishes after dinners, washing his clothes, snuggling under his sheets in the winter. No complaints when sweat dripped off his nose onto your chin. No complaints at his devilish midnight grin, drunk in lust to your delight, called you his star, because you only get shine at night. And with the dimming light of morning, a brighter star set in the morning. When you ate your eggs alone at your place, the morning when you grabbed the wet rag to wipe the remnants of him off your leg, stared yourself in the mirror and told yourself you are worth more than this hit and miss, hit you up at night and you are still a miss instead of a missus. The morning when his eggs are ate at his residence, he is kissing his wife and his kids with the same mouth that just left you last night, and you, deeply saddened but still waiting your daily lunchtime rendezvous, his midday vacation with you to escape marital issues. But this is real for you. Unable to escape the reality while fulfilling your wishes with his kisses, that you, mistress, are still not the main mistress. And being haunted by him returning to this place he calls home. While you sleep alone most nights, unable to escape the thought that right now he's probably having sex with his wife. And in your mangled mental processes, this is wrong, and to correct somehow, you make your bed with him, but he lays his head with who is this other woman, wife, person, mistress? How dare she exist? And you get pissed, showing up his work, making workplace appearances, texting her his naked pictures, telling her all your business, talking out the side your neck about him. Girl, he's a dog. You show right, Pavlov. And now that he's left you with nothing more than wet sheets and baby shoes, you want to come to the light and make things publicly right, girl? Boo. Truth is, he wouldn't be able to be a dog if you weren't the female dog he could run to. But you call him a dog, opening yourself wider, hoping that he would fall into your mistress fantasy. You called him a dog because the symbol of manhood in your life has gone back to his wife, leaving you once again alone. That's that piece. Oh my God, I made it through it. That was rough. It went up the rough side of the mountain, but I made it through it. Yes! The rough side of the mountain. Okay. I can't. Okay. The lovely, lovely lady. I never even asked you, did you change your last name?
Yes, I did.
I did not know. I was like,
Legally Aspesia. It's okay, everybody. It's okay.
it's okay. But you're still the Duganegger.
Always, forever.
Okay.
When you start out as an artist and you have a name, you ain't changing it. I'm sorry, I love Matt, and I changed my legal name, which was a hell of a challenge I'm still working on. But I'm not changing my artist name. I stopped there. So I found a short, sweet poem, just like myself, full of goodness. A should taste like apples, light and sweet. It protects itself with less than thick skin, yet a hard core. There are many A's, bushels of them in the world, used for so many things. The different types of apples grow heavy on the trees, bending the boughs until they fall to the ground, ready to be plucked and torn open. Teeth sinking into red, green, and yellow skin with a satisfying crunch. A has attitude. It leads the way for others' words to follow. A is brave and fearless. It can stand alone or with a friend. All the letters in the alphabet love A, although E does have some envy in its heart, as most vowels do, sometimes Y included. But A is not as strong as people may believe. We all stand alone, sometimes for different reasons. A is a bridge between ideas, a resting place between two things, a link, small but strong. A is sometimes hard, sometimes smooth, found at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. That's that piece. Thank you guys so much for having me. I just want to say thanks to Sherry too, because I got told last week at work to whisper and be quiet. And I am loving being in a space where I get to be loud and be boisterous and be myself. And it's fantastic that the arts allow us to do that. So thank you for letting me come up here and be loud.
Be loud, be heard, be strong. Be the Dukenator. All right. So thank you everybody for joining us this evening. Storytelling, poetry, words. Hopefully you got something out of it, had a good time with us. Remember all the gems and jewels that you were given to be able to stand, that you are doing something that's worth it, that you are relationship goals, and it's okay to be broken. Use some duct tape, but admit it and be vulnerable. Till next time, people, have a good evening.